Syndicate.
Oh.
Boss fight.
Yo, hey, you don't wanna fight with a boss. Left, right, and I'm writing you off. Spit 16 and frighten you off. I'm done with the hype, you lost. Next wave and I wave next. You man are old school like K-Rex. You don't wanna step to the apex. No, that wouldn't make sense. I got heavy like waist bench. I don't really care if your mate's hench. I'm not killer on mic. EMC's and I kill 'em on sight. Kill 'em on dubstep, kill 'em on grime. Kill 'em on quick and still 'em on time. Hey, kill 'em on tracks and kill 'em online. I don't wanna talk, no, I don't wanna chat, yeah, I just wanna go. Get that money in the bank and start that, give me that dough. It's a roadblock thing when we turn up to the show. We keep bringing the Magnus, ready, set, go. We keep bringing the next wave. We keep bringing the next wave. We keep bringing the next wave, bringing the next wave, bringing the next wave, 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 next wave. We keep bringing the Magnus, ready, set.
Happy Monday, everybody.
Yo! Well, hello, friends. Hicks, yeah. Hot yeah.
Hot yeah.
Hot yeah.
Hot yeah.
Hot yeah.
Hot yeah feels so wholesome. I keep thinking about it.
It really does.
I think you muted yourself, Andrew. Oh, okay.
I just shouted to Roshni, I'm muted.
Oh.
Any of y'all watch the Oscars?
No. Who won? Was it the best film? Did it? Was it about how important acting is?
YouTube TV won for being the streaming service that got my business when I couldn't get the dumb HD antenna thing to give me consistent signal. And it's like, all right, and then I went to go, I'm like, I got this YouTube TV. Let me check some stuff. There's some cool movies on here. I'm like, go click to play. There's a 30-second commercial. I'm like, no, cancel. Two things Andrew does not do: alarm clocks and commercials.
Yeah.
Well, and that was like a VOD
long
movie.
lines too. Yeah, long lines. Yeah.
I was watching it silently at dinner last night, but I was very pleased for the business of people talking about the Oscars that Green Book won, because that's certainly the movie that would get the most rage out of Oscar viewers and fans and pundits.
Had it been snubbed?
No, so it's a movie that is effectively kind of like it's like a Driving Miss Daisy type, but except this time the guy providing wisdom is a rough around the edges white guy, and the guy he's driving is a black classical pianist who doesn't know the ways of the salt of the earth folk. So it got fairly savage for being kind of like much like sort of Crash and Driving Miss Daisy, this like antiquated tale of like, well, we solved racism at the end. And so between, the movies that were most likely to win, it was like Roma, which is like 2.5 hours in Spanish and black and white, which was the odds-on favorite. And then I didn't even know Green Book was really even in the in the hunt, but looks like them Oscars, they did it. I haven't seen it yet, but it was directed by Peter Farrelly, one of the Farrelly brothers from Something About Mary. So they're in the Oscars this year. We had Best Picture nominees from the director of Anchorman and There's Something About Mary.
That's amazing.
I haven't seen it. I mean, I think, man, I first saw the trailer. I'm like, man, this could either be good or really, really hokey and, whatever. But, based on a true story, of the composer Shirley, who, is supposed to be, is a very fascinating guy. You read up his Wikipedia and you're like, this guy is just amazing. So, and Marsala Ali, he's incredible. He's like, I haven't finished. I'm only like 4 episodes into True Detective 3rd season, and he's the only reason I keep watching it.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of the new True Detective yet, but it's he's great. He's awesome.
He's got, as an actor, he's got this great ability like when you watch the trailer for Green Book and True Detective, and you see his ability to slightly change his speech
Yeah.
is just so much of what makes his character just that he's got just great. He's trying to get like Gary Oldman's one of the other people I'd compare that to as far as their ability to just sort of.
He does
change
he does have kind of an Oldman energy to him.
Mhm.
And he really is always just kind of punched above his weight. Like he's always in these movies that he really, really elevates. And I guess this is just another one of them.
All right. I'm looking at the winners now. Tell me this isn't a pity award for visual effects for First Man. Like, think of all the visual effects you saw in the year 2018 and pick the most impressive and look at me with a straight face and tell me that First Man was the best.
I think that it was a little bit of a pity award because it did not get it was not successful at the box office and therefore it was not a huge Oscar. It didn't really get many Oscar nominations at all, which was an upset considering it was kind of slated for that. But I don't know. I mean, I guess it's this was for computer generated effects or just visual effects?
Visual effects.
Because it's like it looked like it was remarkable in how realistic it looked. Like, I mean, if you basically here, I agree with you, Brian, but if you were then to somebody were to put a link in the chat right now and it just did one of those like showing the scene and then like you saw like revealed like that literally they were sitting on it was the Phantom Menace and they were like sitting on a green screen the entire time, I'd be like, oh my god, that's great, because it literally looked like a shattering refrigerator.
Yeah, no, they I mean, yeah, look, they did fine. They faked the moon landing just as well as anyone else has. But but
you know, my frustration is sort of the shutout that is arguably the best movie of last year, the one we'll be talking about for generations.
And what's that?
Infinity War.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I agree. That was certainly, well. But then again, that's not fair because I haven't seen the other movies.
Is Infinity War hurt by the fact that if one of the Avengers movies is going to get a Best Picture nomination, it's going to be Endgame? Like, is it like a Return of the King thing?
Yeah, I'm sure that's what Marvel pushed Black Panther because they knew they had a great opportunity there, and Infinity War has Endgame coming out. But I'm like, I liked Gollum. I thought Gollum was cool, but all that push of like Andy Serkis doing Gollum was cool, but like Thanos, like I'm never sitting there thinking this is a CGI character. I'm like, this guy's real. This guy emotes. This guy's.
I mean, the fact that Thanos is as realistic as he is, and he looks so like that we can simultaneously do the meme. The Thanos meme can be either something serious, or he looks like Homer Simpson and his chin has nuts on it. Like that is the bridging of that gap is on the part of the visual design team and Brolin for bringing it to life.
Yeah. Anyhow.
Alrighty, you guys good to do the show?
Yes, indeed.
All right, then take it away, Andrew, in 3, 2.
Hello, and welcome to the Weird Things podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Bryce Castillo.
Oh, hi, I'm back here.
Justin Robert Young.
Hey, friends.
And Brian Brushwood.
Hello.
Gentlemen, well, I got some weird stuff to throw at you.
Uh-oh.
What?
That's so unlike you.
Man.
I need an investigative team.
Yeah, see looks like everybody's booked. You'll have to settle for Brian and Justin.
No.
No?
No.
Huh.
I only hire trios.
Oh,
Golly. Goodness.
And I understand that we have your smarter older brother who's going to help us out here.
Yeah.
That's right. It's
Dave
Brian
Brushwood.
too.
And he doesn't say much.
Brian, the
Does.
first of his
It
name.
means something. I'm just letting you off the hook, Bryce. in
No,
case
it's fine.
you
Yeah,
realize
yeah, yeah.
you gotta
Let's do
do
it.
something.
Let's do it.
All right.
Wait, I'm sorry, Brian. What an a-hole you are. We have been friends for over a decade, and you have never even mentioned that you have an older brother. Can you please introduce me to your older brother?
Yeah, bro. Come on.
Look, I mean, everyone thinks he's so much younger than me, so much fitter. I don't like to talk about him much.
That second one's definitely not true.
But yeah, I have an older brother whose name's also Brian.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So you're Brian too then.
Uh,
He's just
yeah.
Brian Brushwood. And
Well, I'm
you're-
Brian too.
I mean, look,
not in my book. You born first, and that makes him Brian too. So, I'm gonna call you a real Brian.
oh man.
Brian, I should have been friends with this entire time. Not this hand-me-down that I've been living on. No more strip steak. It's filet mignon from here on out. Real Brian.
Oh man.
So just for our sake, how do we differentiate you two?
Real Brian and fake Brian.
I'm real Brian. Yeah, I guess we don't have to say fake, but we all know the subtext.
It's just so like.
Real Brian and fake Brian. Real Brian wears sunglasses indoors. Fake Brian wears eyeglasses indoors. It's very, very clear which one is real, which one is fake. Let's get on this adventure.
All right. So, gentlemen, I'm bringing you to a jungle in South America.
Nice.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
man, I can smell the trees already.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
the-
not all you smell, my friend. You
Okay.
smell death. The moment our helicopter lands and we get out of the clearing, you smell death. Lots of death.
like active hot splatter blood spray or sickly sweet 2 weeks decay death.
Sickly sweet.
Ugh.
Sickly sweet.
I very reasonably put some Vicks Vapor Rub under my nose to compensate for the gross smell.
Good thinking, bro. Good thinking. That's smart ideas.
I
patronizing.
elbow real
So-
Brian in the ribs and say, typical fake Brian move. Am I right?
I shake my head ever so slightly, take a deep breath, and then step forward and say, "Well, guys, I guess let's have a look around."
Yeah. Are there?
I roll my eyes and say, well, everybody, let's go have a look around.
You hear monkeys in the jungle, Brian. And fake Brian laughing at you.
I nod amiably and say, "Let's see. Is there any active smoke or fires around here? Is there anything visually that jumps
enough
out?"
horsing around. Hey, let's take a look for any active smoke or fire.
Yeah.
Come on, we gotta get this investigation going.
Are we able to visualize any fires or maybe some smoke that's
Man,
going on?
Good call. Staying ahead of it, real Brian.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, man.
So first off, we're in Brazil, and you smell death. Like it is stinking. You look up in the air and you see buzzards.
I
Lots of buzzards.
squint my eyes and look to the horizon, trying to figure out if I could see the center of their attention.
And a monkey throws a nut in your eye.
Brian got nutted in his eye.
Monkey nut. Monkey nut.
I begin walking to where the buzzards are circling, heeding.
All right, everybody, let's go ahead and go where the buzzards are circling.
Great idea, Justin.
Nailed it.
So you're getting closer. The jungle's kind of dense here, and the smell is off the hook. It is insanely
Oh man,
smell
it
of death.
smells. It smells here, man. I can't think of the last time I smelled anything this bad.
I make a joke about oof, shouldn't have had those beans this morning.
Shut up! I say to fake Brian. That's not funny. We're
Someone
talking about
died.
death here.
I was just,
Monkeys are silent. Bro.
yeah,
Monkeys aren't even
I
chattering
just figured
anymore.
because it smelled so bad. That's fine.
Dead silence from the jungle, Brian. The wind even stops.
I continue to walk towards the source of the smell.
So your nostrils are assaulted. The Vicks Vapor Rub is just sliding right off because of the sweat. We're in a jungle. Now, I'm going to ask you something. You're heading towards death. Any of you starting to wonder, you got to brace yourself mentally. You got to think, I'm about to see blank.
I mean, I'm sure this is probably going to be some kind of open mass grave or something like that. That's what I'm assuming.
I say, hey guys, there is the outside possibility that we're not about to, see a whole bunch of destroyed cow carcasses thanks to some flesh-eating bacteria that have been left to rot. But isn't there some kind of flower that like reeks of death when it blooms once a year, and everyone gathers?
Like a death flower?
Yeah, well, I mean, I seem
Like a death flower. Great point, Real Brian.
well, yeah, okay.
I want you guys to draw straws. Who is going to go look first?
Hey guys,
Because the cause of death could still be there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It could be dangerous.
Guys, I don't mind.
So the thing is I need a brave person.
I'll volunteer. I mean,
Anybody.
It's fine. I look up and say to the sky, really? Really?
And the wind shapes the clouds into a middle finger, Brian.
I hunch my shoulder. I hunch my shoulder and clop towards it.
If no one's going to step up, then I'll go investigate.
Thank you, Justin. That's very valiant of you. You're a
Justin,
knight
I'll
among
send you
trees.
a photo from
as I'm walking in my greatest cool guy stride, I find a nut and I throw it over my shoulder and hit Brian right in the face.
Justin, I just sent you a thing from the crime scene.
I'm walking.
Goes over a hill, goes over there. Like, hey, Brian, what do you guys do when you're like by yourself? Like cool Brian, I imagine you just Charlie horse him.
Well, no, he's my little brother. I wouldn't want to hurt him.
I mean, I ask, if he is still summering on the Isle of Wight and what it's like to have married into royalty.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
Guys.
Oh.
Guys.
Uh-oh.
Real Brian. The other one. I have seen something that defies belief.
Well, so out with it. What is it?
Yeah, tell us.
And I'm going to tell you something that there is an obvious joke that has not been made about this, and I'm very, very disappointed that the internet has not caught on to this.
So, number one, I'm going to tell you what this is by way of explaining how stupid thinking that this was some kind of flower. I mean, what kind of idiot? I forget who said it. Just kidding, I know. It was fake, Brian. But I don't want to make him feel bad. So I'll just say I don't remember, Real Brian. I'm doing this for you. You've been such a good friend for these 10 minutes.
Appreciate it. Daps.
Anyway, this would have to be the biggest flower you've ever seen in your entire life. What only a real maroon would think that it would be able to be a flower that would create this amount of stink.
Huh.
What's up if you think whoever said it was a flower is an idiot?
I mean,
I raised my hand.
I'm hearing the evidence.
Oh, apparently the clouds have formed in the shape of an outstretched hand above the jungle.
I shrug my shoulders and mutter, could have been more than one flower. I mean, you have a whole crowd of flowers.
A huge human-sized flower, Brian.
Not a human-sized flower, Real Brian, but a flower the size of a beached whale.
What?
So you guys are saying I was right? Is it a death flower?
No, it's a dead humpback whale.
Wait.
No,
in the jungle?
No reason.
How did it get into the jungles
Did it
of
swim
Brazil?
up the Amazon?
I said, come, follow me. And then I jauntily move through the jungle. I grab another nut, throw it over my shoulder. Actually, no, this time it's between my legs, and it hits Brian right in the face again.
Hey, Brian, you got some of Justin's nut on your face.
I push forward and I sort of elbow you off to the side. I'm like, I'm well aware of them.
So
I've got some actual footage of this, Bryce. You can check of how it got there. But they
Sure.
found in the it's an island in Brazil, and it's basically Jungle Island. They found a baby whale. When I say a baby whale, imagine a very, very, very large dead humpback whale. It's
okay.
about 50 feet from shore and are surrounded by trees.
Oh my God!
26 feet long.
Holy crap!
Jeez Louise! And it really does just appear to be in the middle of the freaking jungle. I guess there was a storm or some kind of super high tide or something.
Nope, I got footage of how it happened.
So
No.
we've got a link here.
Another thing that no one made too much fuss about was the fact that against all probability, a sperm
Oh.
Hitchhiker's Guide.
above the surface of an alien planet.
That's amazing. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Got it.
So
Improbability drive and the idea of a whale spontaneously appearing and falling.
so how did this happen? How do you get this big? Like, it would have to be flooding to get ashore, maybe.
Like
Real
they say they
Brian,
did some-
would you? I just said that, Real Brian.
Oh, did you?
You're killing me. Is the bit's over?
They get some very, very high tides, and also sometimes while the Amazon River is apparently turning into something of a death trap for whales, it is home to many marine animals. But apparently they had a minke whale stranded itself nearly 1,000 miles inland of the Atlantic Ocean. They said local rescuers were able to free the whale, but it was found dead just a few days later. So, like, stuff swims upstream, whatever. But here it's not too far from the ocean shore, so we can kind of figure out, how it got there.
I like to imagine that the whale hopped out of the water and then just like tumbleweeded itself comically as far as it could possibly go, like Katamari Damacy, just rolled and rolled.
That's his new whale song.
Good song, bro. Good song, bro.
All right, I know you already wrote an orchestral version of it. Leave me alone.
The sad part is the
Well,
photo.
by the way, wait a minute. I look at Real Brian's face and I say, wait a minute. And then I rip off his Real Brian mustache, and it's Bryce the entire time. Shit. I knew something was wrong. Hey, Real Brian, the actual Brian Brushwood, let's really beat the hell out of this.
I run up to the
putting you down.
I say,
I run to Real Brian, and I try to grab hold of his scruff to rip it off, and I'm trying really hard to pull it off. It just managed to annoy him, and I give up.
I don't know why Brian played along with it for so long.
I was like, look, man, what can I say? I'm very giving. I'm pretty great. I'm the Real Brian.
I was wearing those sunglasses too
And then,
long.
and then I fly away.
Great one, Real Brian.
Man, I wonder. Well, see, there's your explanation, creationists. How'd them bones get all the way on land? Like right there.
That's certainly, if you're in your satanic belief system, Brian, if that makes you happy.
Well, yeah, here's another answer that needs no more evidence. How do you give money to this show?
Oh, like if you're somebody who enjoys it and would like us to keep doing the show, you could like.
True fact, that whale died trying to climb ashore to give us money, and there's an easier way.
Folks, we finally made peace. Both scientists and religious scholars agree. Patreon.com/weirdthings is where you donate to make sure that this show continues to roll. Man, you are right now having the benefit of knowing that a humpback whale was found in the center of the Brazilian rainforest. And you would not know that if we did not tell you. How do we continue to tell you? By the good, fine folks who donate to us. So head on over to patreon.com/weirdthings and keep that party rolling.
Hells yeah. Speaking of parties, if you want to come to a party, we're having one on March 9th. It's called South by So Wasted in Austin, Texas. It's at the North Door. It's an awesome venue. It's going to be a podcast and music extravaganza. It's the Night Attack and Ice Cream Social and the Possum Posse and Dual Core with special appearances from the Whiskey Tribe, Rex and Daniel, Andrew Heaton, and Willie Dills Gregory. It's going to be freaking great.
Yeah, no, we everything is all coming together. So please go ahead. Do me a favor. Just go ahead. Either on Google. I've heard the Android folks have spoken. They said this works there too. But if you are on iOS, just go ahead and on your phone, trigger your voice assistant, say podcastlink.com/night attack. And you're going to go to that page. It's just that easy. So literally stop the podcast right now and just say it right into there. You're going to get that link.
Hey, are we out of slots for the VIP hangover? I knew it was pretty. Two left. Two VIP hangover slots
left.
All right.
So yeah, if you're interested in that, that's March 10th. We're doing $100 to basically cover the costs of the event. And in exchange for that, you get a private tour of Brian's new facility, which has some stories we cannot tell live here on Joe. Andrew found out what the stories were and just texted me the one line. Of course, Brian bought a blank, just the most salacious element of that property. You will find out that and so much more, along with getting some food and hearing a live podcast, a crossover podcast and Q&A with Night Attack and Ice Cream Social. If you're interested in that, just email me, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com.
It was, of course, Brian. Of course, this would happen to Brian. Of course, it was. I'm like, this. Yes,
it's amazing.
Like I'm convinced that it never happened until Brian bought the property, and then we all jumped into some sideways universe where it's like, well, we've got to, have the Brian scorecard, and we got to make this thing work out.
That
right?
moment, it was a living moment straight out of a horror movie where somebody checks to see if the legends are true, does hard-nosed research, and then you hear that screech orchestral hit as he realizes it is true.
It is after all the jokes we made. After all the jokes we made, we never bothered to find out.
And also, by the way, there's even more stuff that Brian's found out from other people around town as he's kind of poked around, that the people that took it over after the story that we're talking about had their own kind of crazy thing. It's going to be worth it if you have the time and the extra scratch, then please go ahead and hit us up, justinrobertyoung@gmail.com.
So we had some really cool firsts last week. One was there was a SpaceX launch, and they launched one was a satellite, an Indonesian communication satellite, but also a payload sponsored by some companies from Israel, and it is a lunar lander, the first privately built and launched lunar lander, and it's going towards, guess what?
The moon.
So that's on its way. It's going to be a couple-month journey towards there, but that's the first time we've ever sent a private payload to the moon.
This is going to happen in our lifetimes. I mean, what do we have? All we have to do is keep kicking for 20 more years. We're going to watch the moon rush. Everybody, sure, of course, everybody's like, well, the real money is going to be in Mars. But meanwhile, if you got a few bucks, you can grab yourself a little chunk of the moon.
So, meanwhile, the very next day, Virgin Galactic, which has had some rough patches there, but they persist. They took their they took their first passenger, who is actually a member of the Virgin Galactic team, and actually somebody I've met, Beth Moses, and she is the chief astronaut instructor for Virgin Galactic. So she went up there. They went up the space plane, which goes up above the Kármán line, space line, which you go up there. Those are your NASA stingy about who they declare as an astronaut, but you're in space. You're an astronaut at that
technically,
point.
That's why our friend Richard Garriott has to be referred to as a cosmonaut, because he paid his way. So it's like whatever. You're nautical
if you're a
as hell.
Saudi prince who pays your way, or I don't know, a senator who's given it as a way, totally different. But anyhow, we can call them astronauts, call them whatever we want. So Beth Moses, congratulations to her, and I think she may be the first private space participant or person to go into space who's a woman.
That's awesome.
There you go. Kind of a really cool week last week for space. Other news is Firefly Systems, which was having, I think, some difficulty, but I think Firefly Systems is back, and they're going to be building a facility in Florida. Exciting times.
Firefly Systems, was that the Microsat company, or?
Yeah, they're one of the launches for that. Yep.
Right on, man.
So
So they are launching, or they are brokering all the microsats. And
launching.
so they're launching themselves. Okay, got you.
Yeah, we've got some really cool new small systems, designed to launch smaller payloads like Rocket Lab, Firefly, etc.
Did we talk about last week or the week before that analysis that came out on the French system where they were like, guys, just stop. None of this is remotely competitive with reusable entry vehicles.
No, we didn't really get into that.
I mean, it just felt like the fact that you're seeing, government spending government money on government research things very rarely get checked and say, guys, just you could take a break, don't even. And that was the case. A French auditor said that the Ariane 6 rocket was too conventional to compete with SpaceX. It's like even starting this project, even continuing, do all yourselves a favor and stop now and figure out how to license, either go through SpaceX or start getting patent licenses or do something besides continuing to act like it's 1957.
I think it is a tremendous boon for everybody to understand that, especially when it comes to these long-term projects that are going to cost a lot of money. If you're not competitive now, right, what's it going to look like in the years after it's built, with the normal kind of delays that come along with any kind of public funding? Like, it's just good. It's good. I am encouraged by any trend here or abroad where government says, hey, you want to know what? Maybe this isn't worth the money. Let's look at better ways to spend the money, but let's also not spend this money here.
Let's figure out a way to do more by spending less.
Reusability, when they announced it 8 years ago, when there was all this, and the problem is there were some valid arguments against reusability. When you looked at, like, when we have a satellite market, when we're only launching 30 or 40 things into space a year, and if you're a company that makes rockets, you're like, I'm getting paid X amount to do this. This is the price. All it's going to do is lower the price of putting things into orbit, and we make less money. And it's not looking at, it's the IBM. How many computers do we need to sell? Really? It's like we only need like a couple hundred mainframes for all the big companies, and that's all the computers you need. And it's like, think differently. And there's that. You saw that resistance towards that when SpaceX, we're going to make them reusable, and people are like, for why? It's not like there's a lot of demand to go into space. And it's like, yeah, because it's friggin' expensive. And so now you're seeing these companies that a few years ago were like, man, who needs it?
And we definitely see that in terms of an automobile. Well, like in the early days, it's just like, why would we need that? A Sunday drive, who would do that? Somebody who had a cheap automobile and cheap gas, and all of a sudden there's a new form of entertainment and entire new industries that came about. For example, here in the United States, commercial airline deregulation was the reason I was able to become a touring magician. Now, my guess is nobody made that decision thinking this will enable someone to wake up in Austin and perform a magic show that very night in Portland, Oregon. And yet that's exactly what it made possible for me to do. And that's why for 20 years I was able to tour.
Think about, we use airplanes now to ship goods, physical goods, all the time. There was a Amazon
crash,
cargo flight. Yeah, crashed, but it just reminds you, not just you send something FedEx. How does it get from here to across the country? On an airplane. A lot of the products that come to your door, it's gotten cheap enough that we send so much stuff through airplanes now, and it's a big, amazing future. And speaking of which,
vacationing on the moon. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to do it. I'm going to live long enough to see people vacationing on the moon. Hell, if I live long enough, I'll be one of them.
There you go. Just
Moon Brian. Dude, you're going to be working out, getting your moon body ready.
Oh, my God. I'm going to go. It's like, hey, man, is the base in the wrong place? Hold on. Let me just bench this. Walking on over.
Brian's you're going to get the videos are going to be doing the 50-foot dunk shot.
Yeah.
Dude, bro, imagine your PRs in the moon's gravity. You're going to be crushing it.
Crazy to think about, but Why not? Why
There's
not?
going to be a Moon Olympics. I guarantee you, you're gonna get enough people up there. Someone's going to say, "All right, there's 6 bases. We got to form the Moon Olympics," and then it's going to be great.
Yeah. So first to get there, we need to put people into space.
Oh, that's not possible.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? We're testing Saturday, 2:30 a.m. Eastern time, 11:30 Pacific, Friday.
Wait, is this the passenger SpaceX capsule that's going up?
Crew Dragon.
Oh, that's awesome. But then now they're just using it, if I remember this correctly, like they're only putting cargo in there, but rather than using just a cargo capsule, they're using a crew capsule, right?
Well, this is the test flight, right? So rumor has it there's going to be maybe a Starman or a Stargirl inside of there. And then they're going to do, I think, a rendezvous with the ISS, or they're going to do the test flight for this. And launches, like I said, Friday night, Saturday morning, depending on where you are. So we'll get to see that. I will be there in person, folks.
All right on. Congratulations.
I got selected to do a NASA social to be there. So I get to go out to the Space Center and go watch up close. And so I'm going to, talk about it, try to stream and be able to tell you all about it Monday. But we can watch live and et cetera.
So how late in the evening is it?
It's going to be 11:30 p.m. Friday night Pacific.
Oh, okay.
2:30
So it'll be
Eastern.
like 2 a.m.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a late flight, but
Very cool though.
Awesome. Yeah.
yeah. So this is the first test of the actual orbital test of SpaceX's Crew Dragon, which is their next generation crew capsule. And it's the first mission of what will hopefully be many more. We're going to have the Boeing Starliner is another one. The Boeing has built theirs, and I think a couple months later we're going to test the Boeing one. And then all goes well this summer, I think in June. If everything works, I think June is when they're going to actually put astronauts on board Crew Dragon.
That is remarkable.
Like June, like this June.
Like 4 months from now, June.
Like before 4th of July, like at a 4th of July barbecue, we're gonna have SpaceX astronauts asking for an extra hot dog.
Yes. Can you hear that?
Is that a grinder? What is that?
What is that?
A blender, maybe?
I don't know. Some maintenance person's got a sawzall or something.
Oh,
out there.
that's amazing. I thought you were playing like a rock and roll tune, like in Celebration, like got people in space.
I can't even hear it. I just know that after my comment about a hot dog, somebody mentioned grinder.
July is when they're scheduling to do the demo mission, which is I believe with Crew, and so crewed, yeah. And then April's they're going to do an in-flight abort. Well, that'll be cool because that's going to be the one where they're going to try to in the middle of the flight, just eject the capsule to see how that works.
Just say, pull a Homer Simpson's brain. You can stay, but I'm leaving. I'm flying back home.
And by the way, in March we have another Falcon Heavy.
Another one built or launching for the first time?
Launching.
Man, I'm so excited that I'm so excited that it's hard to get excited. Like that's the weird part. Like we don't cover the news of Boeing made another plane today. It's like, yeah, great. They're everywhere. They're awesome.
No, I think we're swinging around to another round of SpaceX. Like, oh wait, these are like gigantic firsts. We spent the last year and a half getting used to the amazing first that they did 2 years ago, and we're about to start seeing some of those. Like, wow, I can't believe that this is a thing that's happening in 2019.
A thing to think about is if all goes well and we get our crew launch in July, it's going to be the first time Americans have launched on an American spacecraft since the shuttle had its last mission, right? Which was how many years ago now?
Yeah.
Man, what, 18? It was 2002, right?
No, I think we flew the shuttle up until like the 10s.
I don't. Oh yeah, you're right. Oh, that's right. Because I remember I was in Florida and we were talking about trying to see the last shuttle launch.
2011.
Sorry, I was thinking of when the Columbia disaster was.
Bad news, Brian.
Yeah.
So that 2011 was the last one. But think about this: the first space shuttle mission. Okay. The first shuttle mission with crew on board was 1981. Okay. And for those of you playing at home, think about that. That was the first time we launched a new spacecraft with astronauts on board. And here we are, 2019, 38 years later, and that's how long it's taken us to launch a new spacecraft carrying people in our country.
What was the gap between the last? I assume they ran Saturn V's for all of the Apollo, right? Like what?
Yeah, you had Saturns. There were Saturn B's. There was like the Saturn V's. You had those, and then it was we had a very fast clip from 1960 to 1981 to 21 years, and then just.
Hey, speaking of the Saturn V, I got hit up by the fine folks who run Space Camp in Huntsville, Alabama.
Yes,
and,
we're going.
That would be awesome. I mean, I'm certain that they would treat us very, very well if we wanted to do like a field trip and go out there.
Yes.
Okay, well then let's say yes to all that. But they hit me up because they're
Ryan, why aren't you calling them right now?
because I want to do them this service of raising awareness of their project to restore their Saturn V replica that they have there at the I forget what the space something space science exhibit. But if you've ever seen it in person, my goodness, it's amazing. I went to space camp in 7th grade, and then 20 plus years later, I had a show at the University of Alabama at Huntsville and got to revisit all that place. And it was just sheer electricity running through my veins. It was really precious. And to get so close to, this equipment and get a sense of the scale, they're in the middle of trying to raise, I think it's going to be about $100,000 to refurbish and rebuild. This is, the most touchable piece of an era that we're going to get to the Apollo missions, and we should, if you have the coin and you want to make a donation, go for it.
Do you know any links?
Take a look at their Twitter. If you go to Space Camp Twitter, or I think I retweeted it under mine, twitter.com/Wood.
I'm sorry, Brian. All I feel is just fury at you that you got to go to space camp when you're a kid, and I didn't.
Well, they do adult space camp. They do, and the adult space camp is
that'll fix my childhood, Brian.
Is way? Are you kidding me? I think it will. If we get some heavy donors over at Patreon, the three of us could go do actual space camp.
It's like, hey guys, you give up your hard-earned money so we can go to space.
Well, I mean, obviously we would have to tell the story, but I mean that would be a good a 10-episode series we could sell to Netflix.
Yeah. No, there you go. Listen, we all experience it. So, you guys want to do picks?
Yeah.
Also, Space and Rocket Center.
There you go. Rocket Center USA is the Twitter handle.
RocketCenter.com.
Hashtag revive the Saturn V, and 5 is a V. RocketCenter.com/revive.
So I caught up.
Yeah, it's different than seems different than Space Camp.
It's at the same place. I'm almost certain they have many different things that do different things there. That's why Space Camp is so awesome, because you go and see all the stuff that they're doing.
Okay.
The U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama.
So I saw a movie over the weekend because it was Oscar weekend and I hadn't seen some of the Oscar movies. And so I decided to see A Star is Born. I watched A Star is Born. Question: what is the genre of music that Jackson Maine, as played by Bradley Cooper, is famous for? Brian, you saw this movie, right?
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I'll tell you this much: I toured for an entire summer with country music stars, and that was a country music concert to these eyes.
So yeah, you'd think, right? But there's no moment when he's like playing like a country like radio hit. It's weird because it's like it feels like all country music ballads that are like the fourth most popular song on the album are like all the songs that are
I think
played during it.
that's intentional. I mean, he's clearly a cowboy musician, you know. I would try naming names now, but the risk of getting them wrong would be too embarrassing. But there's a lot of them where it's like, yeah, they're twangiest is their biggest hits, but I mean, you know, even listening to Brooks and Dunn and Rascal Flatts during their concert, you could pick out something that didn't feel recognizably country.
Yeah, I guess it was. This is not a slam on the movie. It was just more one of those things that as I got further into it, I was like, oh wow, like these are all like, he's kind of like this weird hybrid. And maybe it was just in my head because I knew he apparently modeled his playing style and onstage persona off Eddie Vedder, so it was like this like weird grunge country kind of like outlaw sort of idea that I think it's fine. I don't think that the movie would have been better for making that clearer. But
I think on his podcast, Penn Jillette, I don't know if he coined it, but that's where I first heard it. He says country music is just grunge with a fiddle, and and it's like, yeah, all right, that tracks.
Yeah, somebody I asked this on Twitter, and somebody called it farm emo.
Farm emo?
To that I say hooray. The Star is Born is my favorite farm emo movie of all time. In all seriousness, I thought it was good. Bradley Cooper's a good director. And where else do you get to see great, heartfelt performances by Andrew Dice Clay and Dave Chappelle?
Real quick, podcastlink.com/Saturn5.
Oh, right on.
That'll take you right to the donate section, and either Fiverr, FIVE, either one will work. Podcastlink.com/Saturn5. So would you say the music was kind of Chris Gaines like?
It was a little Chris Gaines. It's like if Chris Gaines became gigantic, like it was obviously somebody who had a country thing but wanted to do rock and roll. Like they wanted country themed rock and roll, not rock themed country. If that makes if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was blown away the first third of the movie at just how real it felt. I mean, it was like getting in a time machine and going back to summer 2003. It was amazing.
Yeah, you know, if there's one element, the movie is hung on the fact that Lady Gaga has a great performance. She's a great actress. Obviously, she's a great singer. There's like a turn in the movie where she's on her career path that I kind of was curious because she's becoming the Lady Gaga that we know. And it's like, but the movie's like, oh, that's not great. Like, I didn't know whether or not I was supposed to be meant to feel bad that she was becoming the artist that became a star that I liked, which is most of the reason why I'm watching this movie.
I thought they fairly intentionally in that phase made the music intentionally trite of subject matter to the point where you were supposed to feel like this is kind of beneath you, but you know.
But also, it's like, is that more or less than Let's Dance?
I would say it was certainly aiming to portray it as less than Let's Dance.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I haven't seen it yet.
When does the statute of limitations run out on this thing?
I mean, it just got an award last night. You know? now, more people are going to go see it now, though, than.
Sure. Well, there's just more. I don't know. It was just one of those things where it's like I was semi unsure where I was, where the movie wanted me to be led.
All right.
But it was great, and I enjoyed it. It's much better than the other movie I watched this weekend, Crazy Rich Asians. Wow, that's terrible.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's
bad.
It's
like
it's a rom-com. It's more just rom, not a lot of com.
There's not a lot of com.
Not a lot of com.
I'm very glad there's a lot of talented people in there
Yeah.
that normally there's not more than 3 Asians that get to be a part of a movie. I was very excited that all these great actors that we like in other roles got to be in a movie where they played exact carbon copies of the other roles that we are celebrating the fact that they get to stretch their wings away from. I'm just saying, hey, we've all watched Ken Jeong and said, it'd be great if I were able to see him as kind of a creep in a tracksuit. Oh,
Yeah, he
is that a
definitely.
thing that we've seen a lot? Oh, well, how about Jin Yang? We love Jin Yang on Silicon Valley. He's kind of a gruff a-hole who has a lot of money. Oh, he plays the exact same character? Oh, okay. Oh, that's great. How about Aquafina? Oh, the same thing? The same exact thing that she does in every Aquafina thing. Okay, cool. I like them all. I liked him then. I liked him here. But the script feels like it was translated back and forth from Cantonese 3 times in Google Translate.
I watched a romantic comedy. I watched a rom-com.
What'd you watch?
Isn't it romantic? I almost liked it. I certainly burst out laughing.
What is it? This movie is? Oh, this is.
Oh, did you guys miss it? It already came out and everything.
Yeah, no, this is the meta romance. The Rebel Wilson finds herself in a romantic comedy.
Gia,
Not unlike
I-
John Candy's Delirious.
I'm gonna spoil a little bit for you. She definitely calls out all the tropes and why she hates romantic comedies, and then bonks her head and wakes up with an entirely too attractive doctor, and guess what? Finds herself in a romantic comedy and realizes that the only way to get out is to do all the tropes, which is really, really funny up until you get over the hump and you're like, oh man, wouldn't it be great to end by subverting everything and surprising us? Because like all of these have been a delight to have things called out and then, inadvertently find yourself in that trope anyway. And then right when you're desperately hoping, that it breaks that pattern and surprises you with something, it does not. And instead becomes a very boring final 20 minutes as you wait for yes, okay, there's no more surprises left. And now you got, okay, none of us are really feeling it because you explained to us why we shouldn't feel it. And then guess what? She wakes up and is a changed person. But that's not my pick.
Oh,
My pick.
No, that was just a bonus carpet bombing. Isn't it romantic?
Yeah, I mean, I do want to high five the parts that were good. Parts that were good were quite good indeed. How to Train Your Dragon #3, The Hidden World. Did you like How to Train Your Dragon 1? You should. It's a great movie. Were you surprised that How to Train Your Dragon 2 wasn't garbage and that they instead figured out something interesting about dragons to reveal to us? Well, they did. Are you interesting if it's possible to have a third movie that maybe has some sloppy, cartoonish action sequences, but ultimately sticks the landing emotionally and completes the trilogy? The answer is yes, they can, and it's a lot of fun. Few of the jokes fell a little bit flat. Some of the action just, I don't know. Watching the first one. So I watched this twice. I watched it and then I showed my kids the first one. The first one, they do some really good, like Avengers level, giving you all the elements and then combining them in clever, satisfying action set pieces that are really, really cool. Whereas in 3, it's just a little bit more, feels a little bit more like with the prequels, whereas like everything's crazy, there's fighting, these people are winning. But on an emotional level, it's next level. I mean, for what the message of the movie is, and also, I don't think this is giving anything away. All the marketing is about toothless courting a female, and as one might imagine, it's hard to let your beloved things go find themselves in other people you don't like, and the role of Hiccup as worrying Jewish mother is fantastic about whether or not she's right for the family. And, ultimately people grow up and things change. And, hey, as a father of a teenage daughter who loves, dragons, it was a fun, powerful thing that I enjoyed very much twice.
I just want to
Train Your Dragon 3 twice this weekend?
Yeah. Well, I went on Friday morning because normally my Friday mornings are spent just waiting for the Mono Rogue episode to drop, so I don't have much to do, and Penny doesn't have school on that day. So I was like, hey, let's go see this movie. And Bonnie's like, well, what about the other kids? I was like, I'll see it twice. I'm sure it'll be fine. And I did. And it was great.
There you go.
over back on Isn't Romantic. The premise sounds fun. But just as sort of kind of, I don't know, sort of fun. Go watch the trailer for John Candy's Delirious.
Oh, this is
Remember
when
that?
he gets bonked in the head, and then he
And
becomes
he
suave
wakes up
and James
inside of a
Bond,
soap
right?
opera.
Is it a romantic comedy or an act? I thought it was an action star thing.
No, romantic comedy.
Oh, okay.
So it's another, oh my God, I'm in this world that I, have made fun of, and now I'm here. In this case, he's inside of a soap opera, and
Although, I mean, like, that's not a bad comp. If you're Rebel Wilson and you're like, oh, let me just do John Candy movies, like that's not a bad a career role for somebody like her.
yeah, no, I think I think she's very capable, amazing, talented. So, but it was just I saw this, I'm like, because like there's we also have the one Anne Hathaway, the Hustle, which looks like, thank you.
No, that's like straight out Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, right?
Yeah. And so I'm wondering, I was like, because I'm like, oh, I think that's like actually is an actual remake of that. And the trailer for that looks great. I'm like, I wonder if this is a remake of Delirious. Like, no, it's just sort of, the same thing. So the trailer for Hustle looks great. So anyhow.
You got a pick?
Did Bryce do his pick?
Oh, I have a pick. I also went to the movies because it's Oscar season, and I was able to snatch one of the very last tickets to go see Happy Death Day to You.
Getting a jump on next year, I see.
Yeah, I really wanted to. Okay, so Happy Death Day 1 from 2017 is not a great movie. It's not a great Groundhog's Day movie. It kind of doesn't really answer much of anything. But the reason I went to go see the sequel was because the sequel says something really interesting about the first movie, which is like, hey, you remember that movie that was kind of bad? Did you notice how we didn't kind of explain anything and it just sort of ends at some point? And the premise is like, okay, what if we did a lot of sci-fi stuff and tried to make it sound like there was kind of a reason for everything to happen? And that's what got me to go see it. I don't think it lands any of that stuff. It's for a basically a sci-fi take on the horror take on a Groundhog's Day movie. It doesn't really land the sci-fi stuff because it's all just like, oh, I'm from a trapezoidal dimension and parallel universe. Like it's all very mumbo
So
jumbo.
wait, has there been a sequel to a Groundhog Day movie? Is this
Well,
like
there's already one in the works for Edge of Tomorrow. Like that's coming out, but hasn't come out
Sure.
yet.
Yeah, but up till now, like I can't think of one off the top of my head that for any of those types of movies that they've gone back and done it. And I think largely because one of the questions you have to answer when you're telling a story like that is how much do you want to talk about like any of this? Like, is it just a thing that's happening to teach somebody a lesson?
Edge of Tomorrow, I would say, got the closest, even though it was the first of its name. They sort of said
Butterfly
like
Effect.
they said
True, Butterfly
you.
Effect.
What's that?
The Butterfly
Butterfly
Effect got a
Effect
couple
had
sequels.
multiple sequels.
Oh yeah.
And they're making a VR video game sequel to Groundhog's Day. You play his son or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Brian, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was just gonna say they sort of made it sound like a sequel, where it's just like, yeah, the thing you have, I have it, and then they're like, oh, it happened to me, and now it's happening to you. They established sort of they implied an entire narrative that happened before, and this is the second time that it's happening.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they made the decision to say, oh no, there's a reason why this is happening. Here's the thing. Here's how we're not going to stop it because I remembered my daughter's birthday. It's going to be because we, spoiler alert, did the thing that happens at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And I wish Happy Death Day to You really solidified that of like, hey, like we're doing another Groundhog's Day sort of thing, and now here's kind of why. And I left the movie with two thoughts. One being that they didn't really get it on this one, but they also set up a conceit for them to do another sequel to this.
Oh.
And like kind of open up. Like I think this is a really fascinating territory. If you had I'll speak very vaguely, but if you had the ability to put someone in a Groundhog's Day loop, what does that look like? And what concepts could you get out of that? Which would also be cool if you could explain any of it, but
This kind of feels like one of those franchises that's eventually going to end up either in space or in the Old West.
Yes.
Like we're gonna just start. He's like, all right, now eventually we got to put him on some bizarre a change of scenery just to keep it fresh.
I will say,
We were like,
I will say, really good emotional stuff though. I think they really play into kind of what makes the thing that happens in this movie different from the first movie, and it plays really, really well to where like that the emotional stuff is really solid. Like I think if you got this on a matinee, you would really enjoy it because they recap the first movie very quickly.
Cool.
So what we're saying is we want a Quantum Leap remake.
Yeah. I mean, that's a universal forever, always.
I had 2 picks.
Okay.
One's just a recommendation. I love the show The Expanse, but I kind of like don't rush out to go watch every season as soon as I can because I kind of want to savor The Expanse because it's a show that I was like first episode I'm like man, second I'm like let's see, and then I'm like yep, no, it's great. It's like the best sci-fi show on TV since Battlestar Galactica.
Accurate.
And maybe technically better, you know. The Expanse is great. Season 3, all three seasons are now on Amazon Prime.
That's right.
Sweet.
So I'm working my way through season 3, and I just think the writing, I think it's just so well done. And you know, just exceptional. And they're going to be doing more seasons on Amazon, which is exciting. So it's a reason to jump into the series is to say, hey, you know, it's not like, oh, I'll just watch it because there's three seasons and that's it. It's like, nope, they're going to keep making more, you know, at least another season or so of this. So, and because Amazon bought the rights, they own the worldwide rights to it. So it's something that they want to do. And it's a wonderful production when you watch it. You know, it's a very, very diverse cast, very, very interesting view of what the future could be like. I think a very depressing version, but still very cool. So that's that pick. Another pick is I've been watching this YouTube channel a little bit, and that's Defunctland. You guys familiar with this?
Nope.
Defunctland is a channel that's all about basically it started with showing like what happened to this Disney attraction, what happened to this thing here, and they talk about like, but also they talk about like the Jaws ride in Universal, and so it gets into amusement park attractions that no longer exist or things relating to that, and they do an entire episode on, you know, where did the extraterrestrial terror encounter come from at Disneyland? Where did that idea came from?
Oh my God, that was so good before they made it cartoon. Like when they were going for scary, that was amazing.
It started off with like Eisner was like, hey, you know, what'd be great would be let's see if we can't do an Alien the ride.
Yeah.
Literally, that's where it came from. Was literally they wanted to do that. And, like,
Ridley Scott Alien, like Xenomorph Alien.
Exactly.
What's that? Yeah, like the actual Ridley Scott Alien. He wanted to do something like that. And then they turned out to be very scary in what they did and whatnot. So they get in the story of that. A lot of really, really great. There's like hundreds of episodes there. They talk about, hey, remember what happened to? Wouldn't it be great if Disney did their own Chuck E. Cheese?
That sounds theoretically awesome.
Well, that was called Club Disney, and they actually tried it, and it didn't work. But they stuff like that.
Oh
like,
my God, they're doing right now. You're showing on the B-roll Action Park, which I went to, and oh man, that place is amazing because it was unsafe as hell, locally known as Traction Park. It was unreal.
So yeah, it's just a great deep dive into a lot of these different sort of stories and events because you ask yourself questions. You go to, my favorite thing, you go to Disney, you go to Disney World, you're on the boats and you see this abandoned water park through the bushes. You're like, what's the story on that? And maybe Defunctland's already done an episode on that. So it's just a really cool, well-presented show.
That's awesome.
Series. The Jaws ride. Yeah, so they had the problem. They talked about like the Jaws ride when they first opened it. The Jaws shark would actually bite the back of the boat where they had like, a pontoon. And the problem was they put real shark's teeth in there.
Oh,
no.
Little things like that. So, just the history of that ride is kind of amazing. And then, the rivalry between Disney and Universal, Michael Eisner and his quirks, very, very, very fascinating. And funny little connection is that I'm watching this and they show Michael Eisner how when he was taking control of the parks, he brought his teenage son at the time, Breck Eisner, to go look at it and got the point of view of Breck Eisner. Breck Eisner is also a director now who's directed episodes of what? Wait for it. The Expanse.
Oh, look at that.
Wild.
It all comes full circle, folks. So anyhow, Defunct Land.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I think we've satisfied our weird quotient for the day. And next time I speak to you, hopefully I will have watched the launch. As all of you can watch it live, the streaming. It's a great presentation when SpaceX and NASA, show these things. So Crew Dragon,
Also,
Friday night, Saturday morning.
I don't know if we already brought it up last week, but public service announcement. If you never got to see Hacking the System, it's on Amazon Prime streaming right now. All 12 episodes.
Yay! A funny thing about that. There was a Tesla crash on Flamingo Road in Davie, which Justin and I know very, very well. We know that road, and we don't know the circumstance. Somebody said they had trouble they couldn't get the guy out of the car. I think he was like speeding and hit. I don't know what happened. Speeding and hit. I'm like, yeah, I remember in Florida we always had like window smashing tools because of the canals, right? And I'm like, oh, what's a good window smashing tool? So I type in how to break a window, and what do I get?
Hacking the
Right.
system. That's amazing.
Episode of how to break a window. I'm like, oh yeah, it all comes full circle. It's been weird.
Cool. Alrighty, anybody need a break?
Yeah, I'll take a short one. God, there's, in fact, there's somebody who's expecting a very brief call. Can I make like a 3-minute call?
I suppose so. Can't say no.
I'll stay here and talk with
Hey,
you.
Thanks. Thanks, Justin. How was your weekend, buddy?
Hey, man, you want to know what? It was really nice.
Yeah.
My wife decided, she was like, hey, we're going to go out for celebrating your birthday. And I said, that doesn't make any goddamn sense. My birthday's not for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like, crap. I think I scheduled going out for your birthday early. It's like, well, it seems like a weird thing that you can't just make a reservation a week later. Like,
Move the
we're
reservation.
some super hot restaurant.
Yeah.
But I found out why, because she got all of my my local friends here. She surprised me. Everybody was there, and it was very nice. We had a nice little Mexican dinner together, and everybody was there to also play upon my fear that I, like the protagonist in Russian Doll, is going to get caught in a time loop on their 36th birthday, which is what's coming up for me. So they all greeted me with not a happy birthday, but a sweet birthday baby, which is the quote from Russian Doll that greets her. So
Yeah.
I'm not in a time loop, at least as of now, or maybe I have gotten out of the time loop,
Yeah.
and now for whatever reason I can't talk about it. But we'll see. We'll see whether or not it does trap me on my actual birthday in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Well, your birthday's in like 2 weeks?
March 5th. So actually, no, is it maybe a week?
That's next week, bro.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
You'll be
So-
here in town. Well, it's good that you did it over the week because you'll be in town next week, right?
Yeah, you will be in the time loop, Bryce. I mean, that's
No!
the exciting thing is that you will almost certainly be in the time loop because we have to
Oh,
do Night
God.
Attack that night.
And that's the night of the movie draft.
I feel like life is like a time loop, except our bodies just degenerate.
Well, that was. Did you see Russian Doll yet, Andrew?
No.
There's some interesting commentary on kind of what the fidelity of the world, which I think is a cool take on that.
Yeah. Happy Death Day and the second one kind of trucking that a little bit too.
The concussions and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, awesome. Well, that sounds fun. It's nice. It's a nice weekend.
Just wear something nice, just in case I go into a time loop. Like, you don't want to be looking like a doofus. Like, I'm not gonna look at it's Bryce 50 million times until I figure out what past
Sure.
trauma I need to let go of.
Well, that would be a weird hang up on on.
Hey, look, it's your appearance, man. I'm not gonna tell you what you need to do. I'm just saying, like, there's a likelihood that I'm gonna go into a time loop where I live my birthday over and over and over again, and just don't look like an asshole.
Okay, all right. I'll dress up just for you.
One of the deaths is almost certainly gonna come at the hands of Kepler. Like I call that one.
I could see that.
Kepler's a terrifying animal.
He is when like he's really playful, but when he just because he and Sneakers, because the two of them are around together a lot, and they're both kind of dumb, and so
compared to who? Like who else are they gonna be hanging out with? Like
I just
their
mean
friend Brad. They're two dogs. They have two dogs.
I was saying there are no other better dogs for them to hang out with. Because Sneakers is old and kind of dumb, and so Sneakers will just bark at me randomly, even though I'm here like 3 times a week. And then Kepler is young, but also knows me and is like nice to me. But if Sneakers is barking at me, then Kepler will follow him and bark at me.
Oh, gotcha.
And so it's like if you got Kepler like kind of on thinking that, oh, this person is hostile, then you absolutely like that. I can absolutely see that.
I mean, he's just it's a scary dog. All right, I'll be right back.
Okay,
I'm here.
hey Andrew.
So, Post Malone, tell us, in your career, what was one of the biggest surprises for you?
Sorry, can you say that again? Brian brought his phone calling.
Mr. Post Malone, what's one of the biggest surprises in your career?
The biggest surprises in my career?
Oh, it's Bryce. Sorry, I was confused. Roshni was saying, tell him he looks like Post Malone. Tell him he looks like Post Malone.
I don't look like Post Malone. Do I? Okay.
She's going.
She's not. Hey, Brian.
Oh, sorry for that.
I don't look like Post Malone. Come on, guys.
Oh my God, you look like Post Malone.
No, I don't look like Post
You
Malone.
look you look close enough that if you were to Halloween cosplay as him, people would go. I mean, F-wording nuts. They would. People would go. You would be the best. Like I'm saying, straight up Dragon Con. You could Post Malone it.
I'm just. We only look similar because we both have kind of round faces.
Well, it's in the eyes and the brows, which are the important part.
Let me see.
And also, okay, so also the shape of your face. You're right. You both have kind of sharper
Oh my
chins.
God, what's the Patreon level that makes Bryce draw crap on his face?
I mean, I'm telling you, right? Right?
Oh.
And by the way, look, man, you live in the good timeline where you did not become Post Malone, all right?
If Bryce it's like if you took Bryce and Shia LaBeouf and combined them, you get Post Malone.
All right, Bryce, all we need is a fake spirit gum and the fake beard, and then we need to draw on your face. We need to do this for the movie draft. Can do it for my birthday. It's your birthday present to me.
No! You told
And
me
you
not
can
to
Post
dress like an
Malone
a-hole.
for my birthday. Now, that would be great for the time loop.
I would hate that being stuck in 1,000 years of you. Oh, I'd hate it.
It'd be so salty over and over and over again.
Fudge.
Oh, wait, that's probably what I'd have to do is tell you that you could not be Post Malone.
I'm allowed to not be Post Malone, and that would get.
Man, I'm really, dude. Now I'm just gonna be annoyed. I'm gonna be out of this time loop in like two tries.
Ugh,
Okay.
what a tableau. All right. I may have sent you an After Things letter earlier this week.
Yeah, we got a couple of them here.
Okay. Let me check my sent, so I have them here. So, oh yeah, we got a follow-up from Vlad. It didn't seem. I don't know if he had a question in that or not.
Yeah, I figured we'd do the other one, and then if we want, we can do the.
Okay. This one from Ken.
Yeah.
Cool. Give me one extra minute to crop this in. Oh, he sent that one to you. I didn't need to forward you that one. But I did.
Yeah, Bryce, you didn't.
Anyway. Let's see. And then uncrop down to there, Ken. And then center it up. Get my grid 4. What's a grid for? Okay, awesome. Then you guys want to do After Things?
Sure. Why not?
Do After Things.
All right, then take it away.
Hello and welcome to After Things. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Justin Robert Young.
Hey, how you doing, friends? It's your old pal, Justin Robert Young.
Brian Brushwood.
On the moon, I'm on a bench press a base. It'll be great.
Yeah! Dude, you're going to be sweating so hard, and then the sweat's going to like do a weird like anti-gravity like thing.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna think back to a memory of me as a child when I was weak, and I'm like, I'm strong now.
Yes!
Speaking of strong is Mr. Bryce Post Malone Castillo.
Hi, that's me.
In
Mr.
the break, it was commented by somebody that Bryce looks a lot like Post Malone. So,
Hi,
or Pre-Malone.
He's the before picture.
Malone! Pre-Malone!
Pre-Malone!
Now I could get on board for Pre Malone.
Oh my God, we need that side by side that just says Pre-Malone and then Post Malone. That meme is gonna go huge.
Longtime listener, friend of the show, Ken Pelishok. I always see his name. I never know the right way to pronounce it, but I recognize the name.
Ken P.
Yeah, it just reminds me of like I think of like, you know, a prehistoric shark whenever I see that name. We found a bunch of paleosharks inside the Grand Canyon, and they were devouring a paleosquid. It was quite frightening. So he writes to us, hi, After Things crew. I have a tendency whenever I embark on a creative endeavor to spend too much time on the final polish. Recently, I've been doing these simple snack tasting videos with my daughter. They're supposed to be fun, simple, minimal edits, little effort, easy to make videos. In another life, I made industrial safety videos for auto manufacturing. Before you know it, I've got the old After Effects booted up and I'm rendering lower thirds, editing late in the evening, which is 11 because I'm old. I'd also turned my simple single mic podcast into a highly produced sketch comedy audio drama that was taking up too much time and effort, and I eventually pod faded. In the manufacturing biz, they call that waste of overprocessing, wasting time, resources, and energy on something the customer might never notice and could care less about. Though I do believe my attention to detail has served me well in the past. I think there are some things that are worth the extra effort, like my writing comedy. How do you guys determine what and how much polish a project gets? P.S. I think lately SNL has been using OpenAI to write their sketches. I think OpenAI knows how to do closure and knows how to end a bit, so I don't think that's true.
Man, oh man, a blessing and a curse is the ability to refine and constantly see things that need improvement. There have been friends of mine who I love and deeply, deeply care about, but it is clear that there is a disparity between their confidence on how they killed it on stage and what I saw. And I perceived for a very long time that I was doing better because because I was better at self-analysis and recognizing, you know what, that bit hung too long, that joke wasn't clear, I stumbled on these words or whatever, and I would hold on to those. Likewise, when it comes to editing specifically, editing is in many ways the most direct gateway to flow state I've ever seen. Like the ability to lose yourself and make hours and days vanish happen by just trying out a little to the left, little to the right, little up there. What about a different font? This, that, and the other things. And in fact, we had to, I don't think I'm talking out of school, but like Brant requested a schedule setup that removed from him the ability to push beyond a certain point. Like I said, well, hey, what if we made Wednesday our deadline? And he's like, he looked straight in the eye. He's like, I know exactly what will happen is I will use all of the time up till Wednesday, and then I will insist that there needs to be more tweaks done, and I will figure out a way to use all the time from Wednesday through Friday. So we had to institute for now a production schedule that has a very, very hard deadline that even somebody who would love just a few more minutes to make this a little bit better. And the compromise is that, you know, it's a bummer some stuff goes out with you catch a misspelling here, you catch a wrong B-roll shot there, and yeah, it sucks knowing that something imperfect was launched out into the world under your name. Also, doing that allowed us to keep a video a week for 3 years now, and has been vital to everything we've done. I don't see how the Modern Rogue could possibly be in the place where it is if we went back in time and made sure that nothing went out without mistakes. And it ended up being the gift of, sorry, ready or not, this baby's coming, and let's go.
Well, I think also it's the health of brand, right? Like, as much as this is something that is great for the output, it's also important to reconcile the relationship between the artist and the art in terms of not fussing over it forever. There is the among the great Steve Jobs quotes is, real artist ship. That the idea of a concept car is kind of worthless. Just show a dope car that you can sell, because you are in the micro, it's telling everybody about your cool idea and then not doing it. In the macro, it's look at what's possible if we literally had none of the constraints that we're definitely going to have to put out this product. So if you're looking at a podcast or a YouTube series, if the desire is there to do something and keep it going perpetually, then you need to understand that your adherence to a process that doesn't kill you is crucial. You would rather put out a simplistic thing that you can slowly make more complicated to the point that it is allowed, than can just say, oh, I'm going to solve all these problems with these very complex solutions, and then leave it on your own time management to be like, all right, well, what else do I cut out of my life to make sure that this can happen? At least in my opinion.
I'm a believer in processes, and I finished a book a couple weeks ago, and for a publisher, and I'm going to get Monday. There's a schedule. I'm going to get the developmental editor. It's going to send me his notes back, and I have a week. I have a week to spend with the book and work on it. And the first time I went through this process, I didn't quite really get how to apportion my time, but I have a week to spend on. I turned this book in and I felt like, man, it's rough. I wish I'd spent more time on it. But I knew, hey, there's a process. Somebody else is going to come in and make notes and stuff, and it's going to come back to me, and I can fix those things. And I got 7 days to work on it and put this thing in a good shape, and it goes back, and there'll be another round, and eventually it's done. And I can't stop it. And I think that with anything is you can say, hey, I have 3 days to make this thing. I'm going to spend 1 day editing it. Worst case scenario, I'll push another day, and then I got to move it out the door, because you get the law of diminishing returns. Is I could go through every single book I've written could be better. Every single book I could do, but there's a point at which if I say, no, I've got to make this one perfect, then those other books don't happen.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out your limit on that.
Can I throw a weird sideways vector? Is number one, I would say the majority of the things that you think are wrong don't matter. Occasionally, you're going to have to push something where there's something wrong that does matter, and then you will deal with it after the fact. You will patch it. You will make apologies. Oftentimes, of the times that it's wrong and it matters, all of a sudden you're like, oh, what a great content thing for my next thing to elaborate and clarify and make another step forward. And then, and now I'm increasingly becoming comfortable with the idea that we're all old timers here on this podcast, and that we could think in terms of decades. That was an insane thought. In the early days of BB Live Show, there was no thinking of being able to revisit something 10 years after the fact. And yet here we find ourselves 10 years after the fact. And it is such a joy to, under the new relaunch of Scam Nation, to be able to go do those very early episodes of Scam School and do them quote unquote right, or do them with a fresh take or whatever, covering the exact same material. Like, understand, you don't build a thing and then the thing lives and that stands as a proxy for you. You build an artistic engine of creation, and you continue to run that engine until the end of time or until the end of your time. And like I don't know, Bryce, does any of this resonate with you? Like the idea that the only people who could possibly be upset that we're revisiting or redoing something from 10 years ago are people who were there at the beginning, and those are the people most likely to say, oh man, I really like that you went back and revisited this thing.
Yeah, I mean, my feeling on a lot of that when it comes to revisiting content is, especially when it's stuff from, the first days of Scams. I mean, like Scam School, before it was on YouTube, was on a completely different website, and you go and you look back through the catalog of Scam School on YouTube, because the other site's gone, and you just see like 40 videos that all came out on the same day, because a lot of that stuff wasn't even coming out on YouTube at the time. And that means that, over the 10 years or so, all the people who are coming and seeing the site and catching on probably missed it. And if they didn't miss it, they're probably not going to want to watch those videos, because a lot of those older videos are not very good.
AKA unwatchable. And yes, look, if you're a NASA engineer, then of course, you want to get it right the first time. They're different,
yeah.
But if you are intending, all good artists are prolific artists. And if somebody can find a counterexample, fine, appears. But all good artists are prolific artists. And if you've already made the decision to become prolific, then that means you're better off setting a hard deadline and sending out something as is, and then that thing that you wished you could have done in there, you'll find another place to put that module down the road.
So I did a lecture this weekend over the Magic Castle for their juniors program. So the Magic Castle these are high school age kids, and there's about 40 or 50 kids there that showed up for this, which was great. And a few years ago, I was thinking about, I've been writing illusion books since I was a teenager. And I thought maybe I should put all these things together, because they still sell a little bit here and there. But I thought maybe I should put them all together into one volume, just as a way to bring out the old material, make it accessible, available. And I was on the fence about this, because I'm like, do I do this? Should I just come up with new stuff? Or maybe, and I thought, there's probably a lot of people who just aren't aware, don't know all the stuff I've created, and it might be neat to make it accessible. And I said, why don't I just take the first 20 years of stuff and put it in one book? And I put together my book, Illusion XX, right?
Yeah.
Illusion 20.
Which, by the way,
I'm setting up to go do my presentation. This was on illusion building. So I went to Home Depot and I bought tons of cardboard boxes and materials and stuff. So I showed them everything, all kinds of magic techniques about how to vanish people. And it was a fun lecture. And I'll talk a little about, even though it was rough from my standards, it was good. I'm setting up and I hear this kid go, hey, and come over to me, 15-year-old kid, one of the members of the show, of the club rather, he's got a copy of the book. He's a big fan of the book, loved the book, wanted me to sign the book. And I'm thinking, most of the things in this book were written before he was born. Yeah. And that was the thing of thinking, if I hadn't put this stuff into this book, it wouldn't be out there. And I wouldn't have, this kid never would have found it.
And here's the crazy part. As a much more mature artist than you were when you wrote that stuff, I am certain that you look back at the formatting, the font choice, some of the timely references at the time, and you just want to wince and cringe and be ashamed or whatever. But with age, you begin to recognize no, they were just of their time. When I look at the 720p Scam School early episodes, where there's definitely a white pixel on one of the 3 cameras because that camera had a flawed dead pixel and they knew it and they didn't have the money to buy another camera. All of that, part of me, if I was to put that out today, I mean, outside of intentionally, pretending it was a 10-year-old video or something, I would wince. I would be like, this is not of sufficient quality. Good, that's fine. It is just of its time, and nobody holds that against you unless your character is to pretend that you're always perfect all the time. If you're trying to go for a Michael Jackson vibe or something, you might.
And it's okay to republish stuff because stuff gets lost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What I liked about this book was I start off with illustrations that were literally made in MS Paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get into the later years. I'm using photography. I'm using better computer modeling and stuff. And that was the thing that for me was kind of, it gets much more sophisticated.
Well, and take it from a guy who had a fairly ridiculous hairstyle for a good 15 years. It's the only way to lose is to act like you were supposed to be perfect the whole time. And of course not. It's like, yeah, that's where I was. What's the next question, sir?
Yeah, and so I did my talk, and it was about, 2.5 hour talk on Saturday, and obviously very well received. And afterwards,
obviously, because you were giving
it. I thought to myself, like, okay, I know as a speaker, I get rusty and I have bad habits. I use poor grammar, and I know that I probably slouch in my presentation and whatever like that. I don't think anybody cared. Nobody cared because it was about the content. And I thought, like, a mistake that sometimes we make is, I think classes like Toastmasters and things like that are great for getting used to public speaking. But after a period of time, really you got to think about it's the content, and get to a point where it's presentable, then just keep making content. Then just keep moving forward. Don't obsess because I can edit this YouTube video perfectly great. Guess what? It could be the most perfectly edited thing in the world. When you start off, it's never going to get more than 1,000 views. It doesn't matter. The next video is what matters.
And keeping to us, we've talked about on this show, keeping to a schedule, keeping to a regular, expectation for your audience. That is also a quality of your work, right? If you say like, oh, we're doing these easy videos and there's such that, we could do one, every week, right? Well, if you keep having to push them back because you're spending all your extra time on making nicer lower thirds or doing graphics or putting more and more stuff into that is a quality that is a factor of the work. And consider that the work that you're doing is not just any individual piece, but also the larger structure that you have. If something doesn't come out in a close enough time, or it just doesn't come out, he mentions pod fading with his podcast. That is a this may be a little harsh, but that is a larger failure than having a more simpler show that you're doing more regularly.
It is. You're totally right. It is a paralysis of pre-creation. It is actively trying to strangle your product, the desire to make every little thing perfect, because ultimately, and all of us have been through processes where you realize that the actual journey you're going on is in identifying the key worth, the key value of what you are doing and evolving that. And spoiler alert, unless you happen to guess right, the key worth is probably not, I need to have motion graphics on these lower thirds. The key worth is not, I need to make sure that all my ums and ahs are out of here. The key worth is not that. It's something within your product. It's something within yourself. It's something within what you are putting out. And in a podcast, a lot of that is you just figuring out what your audience is responding to, what they like, how your talent meets their expectation and excitement, and then finding and honing that element of it. And I don't know if, you might, maybe it is nice production. Maybe it is that you polish everything up into these beautiful little nuggets, right? But even then, you got to get them done, and you got to figure them out. And if you want to have a thing that goes for a long time, this is the process. It is getting it out and figuring out what's in there. And if you're not even getting to that point because you're, pre-perfecting everything, then you're not even on the path. You're not even on the road.
Yeah.
I want to throw out a plug here. If you're into podcasting right now, check out my project, podcastlink.com. I'm trying to come up with tools to make it easier to podcast. And part of the reason pod fading happens is it's still a lot of work. If we didn't have Bryce here, this show would just be a phone call between Justin and Brian
and it costs money. Thank goodness that Bryce came into our organization when he did, and that we went on Patreon just at that time, because I think in an alternate universe, if the twin tools of Bryce's production skills and Patreon did not happen, I I can't see this show being around. Well, certainly not after things, but not weird things either. Just because like that little bit of tedium and that time to set it up in a digestible format, it matters.
I mean, you guys had the Patreon, and how many weeks did it go before anyone realized you had to actually use it to get money from it?
Okay, all right. This
couple
guy.
weeks.
All right, that's classic.
But that's an execution. That's part of finishing. Talking about completing your product. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, podcastlink.com.
Shout out though, if you're into podcasting, sign up. There's more stuff coming to it. There's going to be more features to try to make things easier and stuff besides just that. So
maybe we should pivot on this, because you're probably going to be dealing with a version of this same kind of paralysis. You're going to be tempted to. Have you set like an end point of how refined you want to make Podcast Linked?
Yeah, I am very uneasy about a number of things as far as how the whole thing works, but I've decided I'm going to put it out there sooner than I made it. I got rid of all what I think are the rough ends. Like, if something breaks and you're using it, that you figure out how to get a hold of me, or I figured out how to solve it. And I'm putting it out there right now. I'm like, sign up for it. And every a couple days I go look to see who signed up for the beta. I'm trying to get more people on board. I've just added a feature where, we're going to create an inbox. So you could I have podcastmail.com. So to make it very easy, if you have a podcast and you want all of your email to go to one spot, to control that. And so my goal is, I don't know what the right way to make these things work. I don't know what the right form is. I hop on the phone with Justin and we talk about this stuff and we figure out this would be a solution we think would work. I know the thing that's going to be the most helpful for me is seeing how people use it or don't use it. If I put out something, I think like, this is great, I've solved a problem. Nobody else is like, no, you haven't. Or people are like, you haven't. Then I haven't solved it. And so I have to put it out there. So.
Yeah. And that's, I think, part of the regulator is that you're not trying to keep it to yourself and assume, and now you're getting into the forever, the infinite branching paths of, what I want to do is do this, and I want to do it, and then I solved this problem for this, that this was eventually going to come up, so I wound up doing it like this. And so that's why Podcast Link is now a direct platform for art subscription. There's always, and this is not, this is something that I know Andrew struggles with, because you are creating things and you are making things out of whole cloth. But this is the problem that I think a lot of high functioning creators go on, is like, you have to regulate it with society, because ultimately that's who's going to use it. That's who's going to interact with it. So
I just said, okay, let me make a useful link, shortener or whatever for podcasting. I said, let me just do that. Let me make this one simple thing, put that out there, get people on board with, hey, let's come up with some tools for podcasting. Here's a tool right now, and then let's make this work. And then here's another tool, and then here's another way to get paid, which is where I'm getting at, to help people, increase that, et cetera. So but it's just, I've spent most of my life coming up with perfect plans, and then you find out that, reality has different ideas.
Yeah. So. And that's the hard part, is that your creative impulse then is, to do the kind of the Seymour Skinner. Is it the world that has changed? No, it's the kids that are wrong.
Yeah.
You want to defend what you have and rationalize it, and that's, to me, the biggest difference between people who really create things that connect and people that have really great ideas, is just putting it out there and understanding this is for the people, not for my ego and my brain.
If I can loop back to a previous recommendation, I think there's a pretty good example of exactly this. I think I recommended the book Start With Why recently, where it's like picture a bullseye. At the outside is what you do. Next ring is how you do it, and then the center is why you do it. And Apple is mentioned a lot in this book, specifically because they know their why. They know their why so much that their what completely changed. If you start with what and then work your way inward, and we already said all this on here, so I'm just hopefully reminding you or bringing you up to speed. Dell Computers, what do? They sell computers. How do they do it? They sell it cheaper because it's direct to customers. Why do they do it? I don't know, because you probably want them cheaper, right? Whereas Apple is like, why? We want to empower individual creators to change the world. How? It's by offering the tools that they need. What? Computers, that's the tool. And then they changed their what completely. I can't think of anything farther from desktop computers to phones or watches or whatever. But because their why was so very solid, it's not weird at all that they suddenly go into wildly different businesses. So likewise, when I think about that for me, the what, if you were what focused, what? I'm a magician who is awesome on stage and eats fire. How? Because I only have 2 trunks, I'm able to fly around the country and do lots of shows. Why? Because people, I guess, want to see a show or whatever. That was me 20 years ago. Now me, starting with why, is why I want to make everybody who I want to give everybody who listens to my voice the gifts to be more interesting, more clever, to get ahead in life and be more all those things, right? How? I do YouTube channels. I listen to people. I do podcastings. When I can, I do TV shows and live appearances. Everything to share the stuff. The what has changed wildly to where I don't even tour anymore. The what in the beginning was a stage show, and yet because my why is clear now, it doesn't matter that the what is now podcasts and media and merchandise. I mean, how far from, like, if you told me 20 years ago, hey, Fire Eater, you're going to discover you could touch more lives and do better, more interesting things by buying land, building an empire, and sending out lightning lighters, and that will be more true to your form than the other. Anyway, so the point is, don't get hung up in the mechanics. No matter how good it feels to undergo revision after revision after revision, realize that you're better off locking down this chapter. Think of everything as chapters. That's not the whole story. No one episode of this thing is the whole story. They're chapters, and they're books I love with chapters that I don't see the point of.
And also, look, if you're doing this for your daughter, if you want, like, this is part of it is that she gets to do a thing and you guys get to work together, then primarily your job is to be a producer, and producers produce. like they literally, their job is to make sure that it gets out as good as it can be. So this is now your number one point is to yell at the editor who is finessing these After Effects things and making sure that it ships, making sure that it gets out, and it keeps going for as long as your daughter wants to do it or you want to do it, right? Like that's your job, is to, like, I think that there's a great benefit that can happen when you segment out the roles that you are playing, talent, editor, producer, because you realize, oh, wait, I have one bad employee. I might have 2 really good employees, but I have one bad employee, and I need to have a conversation with that employee.
And there's a thing that happens when you can plan, but a different part of your brain kicks in when you have to release. I had to go do my talk Saturday morning, and I haven't done a talk like this in years. And I went around 2 days. I know now enough to plan, like, don't wait till Friday to go get all the props I need, get all the props I need 2 days before, so I can spend the day before not stressing, not worried about anything. I did that. But Friday night, I'm like, man, I do some cool stuff with umbrellas. I didn't get any umbrellas. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get umbrellas in the morning and bring them. And it was a minor thing, but it helped make a point that I was trying to make when I did my presentation. My girlfriend's a filmmaker, right? And, there's nothing like, hey, our movie's going to be in front of people at a screening in 4 days for you to sit down and watch it in that light and go, what do we need to work on? What do we really, really want to change? What do you want to do? All of a sudden, a different set of instincts kicks in, and that's the beauty of releasing. When you have to release something and say it's going out on this date, you figure out what's important and what's not. Figuring out, what font this should be in is not an important detail. These other little things, you go, those are irrelevant. What matters is the content there, and then do people understand it?
And yeah, and that's one of the things Ken's asking about. How do you determine how much polish you should give to something, and a deadline is super helpful. And I mean, Ken comes from a video production background. He knows deadlines. If you want these things to be a series or a regular thing, then put it on the calendar. So, Tuesdays, the days is when it's got to be done. I know how much free time I have from Tuesday to Tuesday.
Well, plus also figure out a way to publish out stuff that doesn't meet your standard. And it's a weird thing to say, but publish what you perceive as substandard stuff and wait for the feedback. Listen to the audience. Figure out, oh, wait, that thing that's taking up 70% of all my time is the thing that nobody cares about. Grant Thompson, I hope I'm not talking out of school, once expressed that he was about to be out. He was about to be out of doing YouTube's, talking about the King of Random, one of the most popular channels on the planet. He was like, I can't do it. I work so hard on the voiceovers and the editing, and I have to get everything right. And then he flipped a switch, and he's like, you know what? Just gonna do low res videos every day, see what happens. And what happened was he became one of the most popular people on the planet, because it turned out that all the stuff that he was investing so much time, energy, and effort in was not, him hiding behind the camera, just being a voice, narrating this well-crafted stuff. None of that mattered. What we wanted to see was the person and the raw surprise of the experiments that he wanted to do. So always keep in mind the strong possibility that what you perceive as the most important thing about what you do might not matter at all.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, picks. So
I got a pick.
Okay.
I told you that I'm reading the Dark Tower series with my daughter. Got through some awkward parts of the book.
Yeah, it's pretty open to the pretty old lady and the gun, and
yeah, and it's weird because I didn't read the Dark Tower series until I was in my early 20s, but I certainly read plenty of other Stephen King at her age. So however awkward it must have been, it's like, I don't know, my job is to be all like, yeah, this is Stephen King, kiddo. But at any rate, my frustration is that because we're going through it together, I keep wanting to go ahead of her on the Dark Tower series. And I was like, I got to find another place for this energy. So I went ahead and I downloaded for one Audible credit all 47 hours of The Stand. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm already like 10 hours in. I forgot so many of these characters that I had met 20 plus years ago. What was it, 1990?
Harold Lauder.
What's that?
Harold Lauder.
Oh, geez. In fact, he just showed up today. That's where I'm at. Is the first time that Fran meets him. But it's great. Man, dark stuff. But it definitely stands up.
Can you give people an elevator pitch? I don't know what The Stand is.
The Stand is superflu virus wipes out 99.94% of all of humanity. So only or 99.96 or something. Basically, 4 people in 1,000 are left standing. And so the first third of the book is about the leaking of the virus and the spread throughout everything and the downfall of humanity. Mm-hmm. Second third is what happens when all of a sudden there's infinite anything. You could take whatever you want because everybody just dropped dead.
Yeah.
And then the third of the book is the supernatural part where people are having dreams and they find themselves attracted to either this light side area or the dark side area. You either are dreaming of Nebraska or Las Vegas, and then there's a final showdown between the remnants of humanity.
Yeah.
And it's delightful, and it's filled with characters, and it's so very, very human. It's one of the most human of Stephen King's works. And interestingly, you may not know, it was originally published at just shy of 800 pages, maybe 750 in the 1970s. But then he, once it became successful, had the opportunity to say, okay, this 450 pages I cut out, did that need to be cut out? And he went through it again. And so the 1990 version is like 1,280 pages hardback. It's amazing. Like if you're looking for value for your Amazon credit dollar, you're not going to do better than Stephen King's The Stand.
There you go.
Excellent. I heartily endorse your recommendation, Brian. Not that people were waiting for me to say that.
Also, like it does, the guy does a fine job of, reading it. The narrator matters in these kind of things. It's he's no Frank Muller or is it who's the guy who does Harry Potter?
J.K. Rowling.
Or John Lee or anyway, but he's good.
Daniel
He's good.
Radcliffe.
I have a pick. This is a little lighter. Netflix has a new season out of their remake of One Day at a Time, family sitcom. Pretty standard stuff, multi-camera. It's pretty weird that in 2019, one of the shows that I'm quickest to like finish binging when it comes out is a multi-camera, pretty traditional sitcom format show. But I really dig it. I think that there are when House of Cards came out on Netflix, it was like kind of a novel thing that you'd have these like long episodes of this show and like not do like recaps or not need to write it in such a way that was resetting up the concepts every time. And I think kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, like having a like sitcom like this also benefits from that, because you can do more shorter length arcs. You can do stuff that's only a couple of episodes of an arc, but without needing to like really hammer in like there's some of it, but like really hammer in like, remember the establishing for why you're doing this thing. And there are also like a lot of really good kind of feel like a very special episodes. It deals a lot with like modern social issues, and I think they're all good. I do wish that season 3 was a little less heavy. I think there's just kind of a little bit of density with that sort of stuff. But I think this is a really fun show, and I can't imagine anybody who would not have an okay time giving this a shot. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I have a pick. So I have had a issue trying to find a replacement for an app that I loved called Soundboard by Ambrosia Software, but then Ambrosia Software stopped, I think, either servicing that or maybe even existing. They were really great for Mac apps for sound stuff, and then they just stopped. So I've been on the hunt for I literally rode that app until the new iOS told me it would not use it. And I've been on the hunt ever since. I think I might have finally found my replacement. It is called Backpack. And I was in a fit of rage because the program that I was using was not super effective at importing stuff from Dropbox. But this one was. It's like $7.99, which I think is
that's reasonable.
Very fair, a very fair price for an app like that. The layout is clean enough. Like a lot of the soundboard apps are just, they look like total garbage. This one is not the most beautiful app I've ever seen in my life, but it is functional enough, and it is not ugly to look at. And I have had it was a really, really easy time setting everything up here today, so I can play on my.
Man, the spontaneous crowd and all the excitement.
I love it.
It's so amazing. Yeah. so much so that I think is Skype joke for a second.
Yeah, Skype broke because it was too awesome. But there we go.
Well, on that note, my pick is actually a pick I've picked before and relevant to what I'm working on. Is just the book Blitzscaling, which is just it's a not always the right approach, but just the thing that I take from there is if you're not sure if it's a good idea, if it's going to work, but you have the opportunity to put it out there in front of people, then just do that. Just do that, because you can play little mental games in your head all you want of like, maybe this will work, maybe this will work. And it's like, if you're trying to make something that's useful for people, who can tell you if it's useful? People using it. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man, I owe you the rest of Blitzscaling. I've got about a third into it when when they emphasize on just how all or nothing the practice of blitzscaling is. Like, if your goal is to take territory and hold territory and then take territory again, then blitzscaling is not for you. And I remember very clearly thinking, hey, turns out right now at this moment, blitzscaling is not for me because I intend to take territory and hold on to it rather than bet everything on a constant doubling down. And so I think once we get construction done on the project, I will be in a mental state to resume reading blitzscaling.
Yeah, they get into explaining when it's right, when it's not, and at what stage you're at. Maybe it's not the right stage, or there might be a point, or whatever. It is a high risk take all sort of proposition, and it's suited for some things and not for others. So, on that note, it's been after. I gotta run.
Okay, well, if you're able to hang around after the stream, I do have a short story. That
I have to go run do an ADR. I literally have to go, but I'll call you after.
Bye.
Sorry.
And we'll see you guys in a few hours for Cord Killers. Also, Jury is coming up later today, or is that Politics?
Yeah, no, Jury will be at 3, and then what's it called? Then I have to record our next week's episode, which will air in 3 or 4 weeks on America's Next Top Podcaster.
Ooh, that's right. Alrighty, well, we'll see you guys.
Just want to let everybody know. Ooh. I'm gonna get up in a few people's asses in 4 weeks. So be excited because I have this is going to be the most Gordon Ramsay that I have been on this show in my recording today.
Alrighty, keep an eye out for that. And we'll see you guys later. Bye.
XOXO. Bye.